Oh, hello, hello, you are there. Anyway, hi, everybody.
Hello.
It's a Sunday Comic Therapy 2.0 once again in my channel. So I think I'm going to call this, I really like this name because I
Yeah,
was like starting to grind my head, and I like you always come up with some clever stuff and all of that. But
yeah,
you know what? I like this, and I think
yeah.
it's very me
I
because
think
that's
it's good
what how I
too.
treat my comics reading as.
Yeah,
So I think I'm gonna stick to this.
yeah. No, I
Uh,
say go for it. It's a good one.
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we're back. Two of us this time. Our
Yep.
sleepy reader 666 is too busy. I think he just needs some break from us. I think.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
so. Yeah,
you just make some excuse. Why?
yeah.
It's just like I have to be polite at the end of the day. Somehow I need to like almost like to the teacher saying like, what do I say when I don't want to go to school? Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I have a bit of a flu.
Bring a note from your mom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, pretend one. Do you remember? Did you fake your parents'
All
signature?
the time.
Yeah.
I can mimic my mom's signature very well. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh God, yeah.
My mom and my dad had horrendous, difficult to actually copy. My
Uh-huh.
mom has this very simple, like couple of lines, but if you don't get it right, it just looks so bad. So it doesn't look right. So I start to mumble jumble. My dad's used to be, and he
Yeah.
had like 500 letters in one go in one little square. I was like, why do you do this? One day I was asking my dad, why did you pick this kind of like signature? And he's like, what did you do?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Well, anyway, so Haramos is here. Hello, and
Hello,
Govardal.
everybody.
Corinthian comic book, Nightmare Country. Yeah, it looks very interesting.
Yeah. Hey,
Uh, so nice to
I
see you
don't know
guys.
it. I don't know that one.
I don't think I do. Oh, because it's a all the actually talking about I think it's like Sandman universe. I
Oh,
think
okay.
maybe I'm going afterwards. I'm saying that because I'm gonna show you something Sandman related today. So maybe I'm just putting everything in that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And magic and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, um, have you watched the second episode of Moon Knight? I think
No,
there's
we
no.
didn't have a chance to yesterday. We were gonna yesterday, but it was a busy day. Lillian had a couple of birthday parties that she was going
Oh,
to, and so it
but
turned out we just didn't have time. So we're gonna wait till next weekend and we'll watch two back to back.
yeah, it's actually quite good way strategy because it's very entertaining and you don't want it to finish. Like
Right?
this one, it wasn't as scary anymore. I think
Yep.
it's more entertaining. Ooh, Earl Grey. Guten
Oh,
Abend,
hello,
Mister. Wow, I lots of
hello.
good people. Thank you very
Yeah,
much for joining. I actually watched Earl Grey's video just about his collection.
yeah. I haven't
Uh,
watched part two yet.
yeah, the part two one, I actually managed to scroll through, and then it was very entertaining. And of course, there's always a book you get interested in. It's like, why do you have, what is this? I've never heard about it. So I already bookmarked somewhere to make sure I have a look,
Yeah,
to make sure. I think it's it's one of, I just really love the art.
yeah,
Anyway, so yeah, very good video.
yeah. No, his part one was great because it was a lot of like
Yeah.
underground comics and stuff. So I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, I think you would. I'd say a second part. It will be straight up your alley, anyway. So I was like, while I was watching, okay, Terrence is gonna like it. Terrence is
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
like it. Terrence is gonna like it.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have very similar taste, I think,
yeah.
in what you guys read. Also, all the obscurity and all this jizz. Let's say this way, jizz away everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was something like that. Anyway, talking about Moon Knight. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna spoil.
yeah.
It was interesting to see how what they do with it, with everything, especially personalities, split personalities. But
Hmm.
Oscar Isaacs continues to impress me really nicely. I'm not sure about the villain because I like the actor.
Yeah.
What is his name now? Ethan? Is it Ethan
Oh
Hawke?
yeah, Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, there you go, him. But the first episode scene when he put the sandals with those, oh my god,
Yeah,
that was
Jason.
ouch.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, why would you do that to yourself? But
yeah,
it's a very religious part of it, so they're
uh-huh.
going that as well. So of course, that's kind of
Yeah.
the full term of it. And I really like that god when he turns up, that with the beak.
So awesome. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
and he looks
that
who's
was.
voicing that though? I don't
Oh,
really know. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure.
I even actually did research to actually see, but his voice is spectacular.
Hmm.
Absolutely love it. And you just freak enough for God, I guess, if
Yeah.
you think of God in that kind of sense. Yeah, but I enjoyed the second episode, of course.
Yeah.
Me and my husband like glued in, and we don't never want to finish. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Oh, link later. Yeah,
You have crack on the mind. Hey, Earl Grey, that's awesome. Good.
yeah. Go with that. Ethan Hawke was good in
Linklater's
Linklaters
Before
before.
Sunshine trilogy. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Never been drawn to him and as an actor. You know, I mean, I know
Yeah.
who he is, and I know I've seen him and stuff, but
Yeah.
nothing really stands out for me.
Yeah, there are some certain things he does, I think, in his acting. There's like uncomfortableness.
Oh
He
yeah.
portrays really nicely. I think that this part of it is going to work for him really well because of the way, like the obsessed thing. And I really enjoyed the way they kind of talked the religion part, and they had this like nonchalant conversation in this market. And you will see it, and I want to see how your reaction is about that. But even the religious part is never my comfortable part when I see everywhere, because you always have the bad feelings towards things, whatever people, opinions and all that stuff, and different opinions of people about religion. So it's always like makes me kind of, but it's you have to remember it's still a comic based things, nothing serious. So my head's like, it's just comic, just go with the flow, and everything like that should be fine. So yeah. And I remember, I don't know, I didn't tell it online, but we were talking after the show about the Slow Horses, that detective show.
Yep.
Spot on.
Yeah,
Really
hey.
good. I really like the way it just goes with it. There's this Slow Horses part of MI5, so debunked, kind of not debunked, but it's like the agents who hasn't done really well, but they have to get still jobs because they know all of the like secrets or how things work, kind of thing. So they have their own department, and they call them Slow Horses.
Okay.
And of course, the guy is Oldman. Yes, Gary Oldman, is that his name?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Spot on, man. He's the guy who is this aged like agent, and he's in charge of them, and he is not in a good mood.
Right.
So he drinks, he spits, he shouts at people. It's beautifully though. I mean, it's very good, interesting tale so far. I mean, there's only 2 episodes at the moment because it just comes out, I think, weekly as well. Like this is kind of a thing now with TV shows, I think, but really good. If you guys like detective and MI5 or like those kind of secret agencies or behind the curtains, whatever actually happens in those, how they make decisions, this is kind of entertaining to see what's happening. Yeah. So, and
you're on Twitter because I totally forgot about it this week. I was going to look for it, but I completely forgot.
Yeah, it's kind of odd name as well because it doesn't make you remember. Like Slow Horses is just atypical name of describing your horse, for example. Let's say Slow Horse, but yeah, it's just. But if you, I highly recommend it. Oh look, Rick Ray says.
Rick Ray, yeah.
There you go, you agree. So there you go. There's at least two of us saying that it's great. So yeah, so highly recommend that one as well because it's my cup of tea as well. Like me, I told you about the detective and all that. Dissecting the things, whatever happens around people and stuff like that. So, yeah. Oh, Corbett Alistair sharing his purchases.
Yeah.
Oh. And now it's on YouTube.
Yeah. Someone stole it and ripped it.
Oh, is it? Are they just do they like often come out like is that legal way of doing on YouTube to put the movies in?
No, there people will pull them for sure. You'll get it just depends on how it just depends on how on top of it some of these places are, right? Like I know a bunch of guys who have put up movies and things and they've been dinged in the past. So one of the guys, this guy Nate who does those board games and stuff, he was doing live streams on YouTube. But because he was showing clips from shows and showing episodes, he got a ton of copyright strikes. So he moved over to Twitch to be able to show all that stuff because it doesn't stay there forever. You do the live thing. You can kind of keep your archive of videos, but generally you don't. So once the live stream has happened, it's over and not archived. So he was able to kind of get around it doing that. So that was early in the pandemic when we were kind of doing the hangouts and things when that was a much bigger thing all over the place.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
said
I'm
it.
surprised too, Gore. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube.
Mm. I mean, I know that there is some like really old stuff, like you're not typically whatever is like what people think is entertaining. I mean, not your mainstream or not something new. If you see your black and whites, not everybody is going to be a fan of black and whites.
Yeah.
But for example, if you want something obscurity, you might probably find something on YouTube.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But I'm not sure if it's like everything. But I don't, like always people find solutions how and where, which way, no matter how many things, boundaries you put in front of them, but they will hop it away like a horse. There you go. There is it. Just to tie this over.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I haven't really read too much.
Really? Okay.
I mean, I read quite a bit because I am in that same like deja vu moment, like Earl Grey used to say. Because I read a couple of graphic novels, and that's quite like an extensive amount of issues. So if I go single issues, I would be reading quite a few of them, if you say so. But I managed to read a couple of things I just picked up recently, so I can show to you. But yeah, I mean, if you have more than that, I'm glued all in. I'll give you smirky comments and all that stuff.
I read a shit ton, especially in the last few days, because I made it to Galaxy Comics yesterday.
Nice.
I haven't picked up my pull list in, I don't know, probably a month. So I kind of bought everything on my pull list, and I've been getting through that. And
you go in the good graces.
Some stuff that I haven't. Oh, I don't have it. I found Animal Castle #3. They had it at Galaxy, and then they had The Killer #1 as well. So that was great. So like that's the shop where if I miss something at my other shops, I can go there, and chances are they've got a bunch of them still on the shelf. So I'm really glad that I didn't miss out on those issues. So it was a good time to drop in.
So if I understand that shop is a much bigger scale than your other shop is.
It's much bigger, yeah, and they have a lot more business. They sell a ton of toys. They sell a ton of back issues, new comics. Wow. They do like cards, trading cards, Magic the Gathering. One of the things that he had actually when I came in, Jeremy is the owner's name. Mm-hmm. I always chat with him, and he was saying, "Oh, I have something that I found you might be interested in." So he goes to the back, and I'm like, "Oh, geez, what did you find?" And he brings out a giant poster for a Will Eisner exhibit, a giant one, and it's signed and numbered by Will Eisner. And I'm like, "Where the hell did you find that?" He's like, "Honestly, I'm not really sure where this came in, like, because they've got a warehouse, they've got a storage space for a bunch of stuff." So I said, "So I kind of like, so how much are you asking?" He's like, "I don't know. I haven't done any research, but I figured I'd show you." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm interested." Like within reason, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's a beautiful, beautiful poster, and it's cool to have it signed by Eisner as well too. So we'll see. I mean, it really depends on what he comes back with, right? If it's going to be like $500, then no, I don't want it, right? But well, within reason, it's got to be reasonable. I was already talking to my wife about it. She's like, "So, well, we're gonna have to frame it." I'm like, whoa! I haven't bought it yet. We don't have it. We don't have to do anything yet because it's not mine. So we'll see what he says.
So how is the big poster? Is it like a wall size or what? What is it?
It's a gigantic. Yeah. I guess there was some exhibits or some show where it was kind of the kind of life of Will Eisner and graphic novels and that sort of thing, right? So, honestly, I just saw the signature in the poster size. Yeah. I didn't really pay too much attention to anything else. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, Gore, I don't know what to tell you. It's crazy, man. Yeah. Especially, as we all know, like once you know your comic shop owners, it's even greater because they'll often have things, because you just end up talking to them, and it's part of being a good business person, right? Like you got to know your customers.
Oh, well, for sure.
So if you want to sell shit, hey, I know if I buy this, I know who I can potentially sell this to, right? So.
And it says here you can't give away.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing, though, Gore. I think it's about the same here, though. It's not like there's a lot of people that are into. Because often when I'm going to shows, people always pull out stuff like, here's the box of obscure stuff that nobody else wants. You'll probably be interested. Like, there's not a huge market for it here. People are still kind of buying, it's maybe a little bit more adventurous than some places. But for the most part, it's mainstream comics here all the way too, and some indie stuff as well. But it's, it's hit and miss, right?
Well, the thing is, did you see on the Twitter of I think it was Travis and I think Sleep Reader, I think something like that, about how much the last original page sold out for? I think it was.
I didn't see that.
I don't know. Remember what was it on it? Maybe people in here will mention.
I saw that they were talking about a bunch of comic art and stuff.
Yeah, they're saying it reached what 200,000.
Oh wow, for 11 Rockets page?
No, not 11 Rockets, but it was like DC. I think it was was it Superman thing or something? I don't know. But they were just talking about even art is gonna go out of proportion. But there are some certain things now, really like original art, because of digital media. You have to expect that this stuff will go like a hotcakes now, because there's nothing produced on paper, or not much. I mean, there's of course your people who hasn't been yet famous, but then those older, we're talking those Gil Kanes or your Will Eisner stuff, those kind of things. You can't come up with that many because there's lots of collectors who like the original art. And then like Othello Ford's Travis, he loves collecting that as well, and he has an extensive collection. I think Damien as well with Sleep Reader, he has extensive collection because he does like to dabble. But then they say, well, for average Joe now, it's like you can't really get, because we were moaning before, I think a couple of years, like 5 years ago, for example. You see a comic art and you're like, oh, you want £400 for it? No. And then you turn around now 5 years later, it's probably $2,000. Yeah. Most likely, if it's a very popular character, especially the face and all that stuff, just goes escalating. But it's just so pity, you want to enjoy all the forms of collecting, but you have to have really deep pockets. I mean, I guess you have to just become those fresh billionaires where pop up every time. Or you have to be very successful in Bitcoin.
Or you gotta like artists that nobody gives a shit about, like buying that. Still haven't got that Guy Caldwell page. It's coming soon, but I mean, that was dirt cheap, right? Because I mean, he's just not an artist that people are actively collecting. So
maybe you should just mention somehow get in good graces with Kayfabe. And then that book I was telling you about. So Kayfabe, I just mentioned that. So you had that video of yours, whole video on yours, and you were showing that Batman book. I told you about £50 book is gone from eBay. Somebody bought it. Right. So Kayfabe, maybe you should go in good graces of Kayfabe and say, look, I have this original. He's fucking fantastic, and start selling. You know what I mean? Maybe. Look, art is hot now. I bought not piece of shit. It's actually worth something.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't wait to get it. I've already been thinking of framing what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to find another issue that page came out of and try to get it, because we know someone here in town who has a framing shop. Like that's what a lot of the art we have, we've sent to her to get framed. I'm thinking of doing something like that, having the page along with the cover and the actual page from the comic. Get in a nice frame. Pardon me.
£20 a piece
I did Earl Grey. I bought one from the Inner City Romance, issue number 4, I think, the one with the bridge between the two buildings. So he had only 4 pages left from the Inner City Romance stuff. He sold everything else, which was very disappointing because I was hoping to have but still, it's amazing to have a page from him. So, but it's on its way. I'm hoping it'll be here next week. I bought it a couple of weeks ago. He was selling them for about $60 US each. And he had a whole bunch of pages from the Doll series left, actually, if you know that. I think you know that one. I think you and I have talked about that. So he had a whole bunch of pages from that. And he also sells original art, and he sells these miniature paintings as well, too, and all sorts of stuff. So he's all over Instagram. Well worth search it out.
Yeah. My husband, he likes to say to me now, because I have, I'm at home staying things, doing all my stuff. So it's like, oh, why don't you start doing frames? That's very easy to get into. I just looked at the things what you actually do when you do frames. You were talking about the frames before.
Yeah. Shit,
just the one machine just to put your frame in the whole 4 corners.
Yeah.
What, £400-500 just for that? So just the squeezer, you basically automatically squeeze the corners properly together. It's oh my God, this is ludicrous. Sometimes you don't realize what actually people and how many professionals are on. You just think of one and start researching the tools people use. Jeez, price is just.
Well, she does a lot of. She'll buy old frames, you know, and kind of refurbish them, so clean them up, repaint them, patch them up, that kind of thing. And she's done some absolutely beautiful stuff for us, like really, really nice. I mean, you know, it costs a couple of bucks, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's totally worth it because it just brings that piece of art to life, right? When you have a nice frame. So
if you're gonna get that Will Eisner's poster, make sure she gets the gold foil done on the edges of the frame, and then you take a picture of yourself in front of that one, and with a cash of Canadian dollars, and you like,
yeah.
That's a great picture. Yeah, look where I am, especially where the signature is, because I think that's the site anyway. I think that's the more expensive and your typical poster anyway. So,
well, and that's the thing. I'm just really curious what he finds out and what he decides to price it at. You know, even if I mean, I'm assuming I'm not going to be able to afford it. That's just what I'm assuming. So in the meantime, I'm very curious to see what he ends up pricing it at.
You need just a whiff of the Thor movie, and then you'll be okay.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
you'll have enough. Yeah.
I got 3 slabs left, and I'm waiting for that trailer to come out. I can't wait so I can get those suckers gone, get them on eBay, and get them out of this house. You know what I mean? It's gonna be great.
There's a room. I don't know if you saw a picture of 3 of them sitting in an interview, and they have this gestures. And I think if I correctly read it, which is most likely not, but I think it's in May. I have a suspicious feeling because it would be quite. Yeah, because the May, I think we have Doctor Strange movie, yes.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to say, okay, this is already here. Boom! This is what you're waiting for now. I'm just guessing.
Can't wait.
Because apparently it's gonna be crazy, like what they're trying to push for all of us, like. The like TT guy is hilarious, it's like life is too long. Everybody's saying life is too short. It's like life is too long. You have to live. Why we live so long? We have to go through that.
It's like being a kid waiting for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, hey,
y'all. Yeah. Or you just show rubber band.
Yeah, I saw that rubber. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. Or just tear it apart and say.
I'm glad you read the doll there, Gore. That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's a good issue. It's a good series.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
It's really good. Yeah.
Do what I do at my shop, Terrence, and tell Ona. No one is interested.
Yeah. No, work with this guy. He knows his shit.
Yeah, it's not easy with those. They are becoming. Well, I guess they have to be switched on at the end of the day because this market is running so fast these days. So if you're not ready, it's gonna go over you. It's very.
But the good thing about this shop is, like, even when there's been real heat on an issue, they'll still have them on the shelf at cover price, right? Because there's been a couple of times that I've gone in thinking, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot about whatever it is, and then seeing the price start to skyrocket. Even on variant covers and stuff, they'll generally, obviously not all the time, but for the most part, they'll keep them just at cover price, so they won't all of a sudden do the hot one for $20, and they'll have a couple on the shelf because they end up ordering so much. So, I mean, as much as he knows about it, he's not overly concerned with that type of thing, It's a really great shop. I mean, there's a reason there. I would argue that they're probably the most popular shop in the city. Because there's always people there. It's always busy, so I think they do pretty well for themselves, or at least I hope they do anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's hope for that. And there you go. Win some Palo Santo, then you finally get them out of the house.
You lost me on that one, AFPC.
Yeah, I was thinking, what is that Palo Santo is?
Yeah.
You have to, maybe we're a bit slow. I mean, I'm trying to keep up, like I'm even drinking alcohol just to make my brain work. And it's just warm me up a little bit. Yeah, and he has that's a big difference. One is Slurpee, another one is like cider.
The Winnipeg Classic, the Slurpee.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. Gore Vidal, you just came out. I was trying to not having too much of things to pull on now. Oh, Kachu! Yes, good for you.
Oh, yeah. The slabs, yes.
Yeah.
I got you now, AFPC,
Yeah. Now we got it. Sorry. We lost that. Yeah, nice. I'm looking forward to stuff, whatever he's coming up with, because at the end of the day, he's going to take a little bit of break and he's creating something else. I like Terimo. So it's always have my attention. Attention, please. Anyway, so shall we talk comics or do you still have
Yeah.
something else to have you? No. Okay, so your turn. Just
Okay.
because. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll start with something I just read.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with this one. So,
Go on.
the Sleepy Reader and Chaos and Comics, and I think a couple of other people, but I don't remember. I think Chaos and Comics especially has talked about Behemoth Comics a few times.
Yes.
And they were talking about this book, Heavy Metal Drummer. And when I was looking for it, I found the first 3 issues at Galaxy. And then I also saw a couple of other Behemoth titles. So I picked them up. I picked up 2 other ones as well. So this one, Until My Knuckles Bleed. And I just read it this afternoon. So this is the first issue from Behemoth, and there's the back cover. So this is all sorts of eras of comic book worship going on in this book.
Yeah, I can see it already.
The 90s pouched Image kind of comics to huge Frank Miller. I would say that Frank Miller is probably the biggest influence on this. But then there's also some like Darwyn Cooke. So we kind of get an introduction of the 90s when they were kind of this elite fighting squad. And we have some that's an incredible Frank Miller-ish Sin City type of negative space use there. And then it transitions to kind of the modern day. He's a bouncer at a strip club. No, absolutely. He's a bouncer at a strip club, and then there's some Darwyn Cooke-ish type things. But
yeah, that's what I could see as well. It's like, wow, it's like you can actually see some of influence for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that the Frank Miller is the biggest part, page after page of kind of this classic Frank Miller. And Bruce Timm, yeah, absolutely. Rick Ray. It's so good. I really liked this issue quite a bit. It took me by surprise. The art was what drew it to me at first, but the story is surprisingly good. This kind of stuff is really, that's really Bruce Timm, Darwyn Cooke-ish type of style there. A little unusual, but still really great. So I mean, it's they're this elite fighting squad, and they're now just older, and they kind of still hang out together. I think once a month, once a week at this bar where they just kind of get together and shoot the shit with their buddies. And it sounds like something is a brewing because of the tech that they all had exposure to at that time. There's this the FBI is kind of investigating to make sure that they've returned all of the tech that they had, and offering cash rewards. Hello, Damien.
Yes, hello.
So this is a hell of a lot of fun. So Behemoth, it's a company that I've known a little bit about because people have talked about it, but I haven't really zoned in and to see how much of that is available here in town. But again, singing the praises of Galaxy Comics, they're really good at carrying a whole bunch of independent stuff. So I'm glad that I found this, and I'm absolutely on board with this one though. I'm sold on it. It was a really great read. And then this last page, this kid coming to get a signature from him.
That's the Darwyn Cooke kid.
That he appeared. But I mean, that face is so Darwyn Cooke, right? So yeah, highly recommended. This is a really great one. It's really entertaining. I don't know how many issues.
So Victor Santos is, that Victor Santos, I think if this is the right guy, he's the one who has been working with Darwyn Cooke.
Oh.
He's the one who took over his reign. Is the Victor Santos? Surely somebody like that, because
could very well be.
Because he does now covers for Marvel, of course, and it all looks like bloody Darwyn Cooke. And I think he was studying under Darwyn Cooke, as far as I think. Maybe I'm making this shit up, but somebody is. I know for sure. There's a guy who definitely says that he's gonna be kind of like everybody. You can sense it, like you see in there. You can definitely sense he got so much influence from Darwyn anyway. So
no, totally.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
Yeah, it's what Elgrey was saying. it's not very easy to get these kind of things in here in Europe. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because maybe it's just such a small company, I guess.
I think so.
But yeah, if it's gonna keep the track going in across the pond, I guess we'll getting something. Hopefully, maybe if the tide's gonna be in our favor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's great though.
Yeah. I think like you said though, I think because it's a smaller company, they just don't. Maybe it's just not affordable for them to be shipping all over the place, you know. So
because I see, yeah, you're right. Obviously, Damien definitely showing that out. You talked about, and I was like, who is this behemoth? Because I haven't heard. I guess I have to talk to my comic bike more careful and see. Maybe he has come up with something like that, but you know, one band show is not really. Yeah. Okay. So Santos did the Polar, a very
okay.
landscape formatted crime noir book. From Dark Horse.
Right. Okay, I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Yagor, Heavy Metal Drummer 3 was good, though hit the miss for many of the titles. I see.
Yeah. Well, there was one miss because I also picked up Stargirl from
go on.
as well too.
Show us. Yeah.
This one for me was a miss. I might pass it on to Lillian. The art was amazing in it, but the story wasn't too much. Like it really felt like, I don't know. It was just pretty thin. I didn't really follow. I kind of a third of the way through the book, I just kind of stopped caring what it was. But I really like the style quite a bit, and I love the coloring. So that's a bonus for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'll get the next one. I'll pass it on to Lillian and see what she says. Where was there's stuff like this, you know, the usual kind of like, hey, let's have some sort of psychic magical battle, and then we can do some kind of crazy images here on the page. So I'll pass it on to her because I think it seems like it's pretty kid friendly, this issue anyway. But I don't know if I'm going to go any further with it. But it's a bit of a square bound one, and $7.99. And what they do with these, there's a couple of them like this because Heavy Metal Drummer is the same. They're smaller than a regular comic, so they're a little they're about the same width, but just a bit shorter.
Interesting.
It's the same with Heavy Metal Drummer as well too. That's the same size as well, same thing. So and this Heavy Metal Drummer I did like. This is the other Behemoth book. I've only read the first issue, so I got the first 3 because I think it is only at 3 issues now. But this is super fun. That first issue I think was a blast, and it's great. The kind of just a very indie type of cartooniness to it, and it also has some crazy psychedelic colors as well too. I don't know if like stuff like this, you know. So
yeah, that's really good.
Very interesting little company, and they often have ads for music. So for their Behemoth record company, I'm assuming that it's associated. I'm assuming it's all part and parcel of the same. So I don't know if they have some of the musicians and people doing the books or what the relation is there. But so this is fun stuff. I don't know what this is. Australian Death Machine, Total Brutal. Another Behemoth Records company thing.
Yeah, it looks like Schwarzenegger though.
Totally does. Yeah, 100% it does.
Terminator for sure. I mean, that's what they probably tried to get in to show. Yeah, okay, cool. It says Go Vidal here who's read Astonishing X-Men. I heard it's great. I might not even get to that point as well. But if Adam would be here, he would be going, Dr. Monkeybot, he would be going, exactly. I told you that long time ago, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because he always raves about that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that's pretty good. So I'm assuming he's saying Joss Whedon, yeah?
There you go.
Who's writing that? Because if so, that's pretty great.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, Joss Whedon. Yeah, he wrote with the books, the Cassidy's art, and Cassidy's art is great as well. So I'm going to show you a bit of the haul because it's basically what I've read as well. Library. Ups for
nice.
library. I'm going to be probably the one who's always talk about library most of the time because they have stuff like stuff like. So I talked about the dreaming stuff. So finally, I found all I don't know all, but I found 3 volumes of Sandman's Book of Magic.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
So it's first 3. So, and that's how the way DC this times describes a trade paperbacks at the back. So when you look like this, nothing to say to you anything about it. You have to look back to actually know which volumes you are at. Anyway, so great. I'll talk about one of these books for sure because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I spoiled it as well for myself, which is not very good. However, it's okay. I'll live, I guess. Then Rain by Miriam Talbot and Brian Talbot, which I talk about about this book as well. And then the one I have, like, I even didn't really look much, but I know the artist and I really like the artist. But it's like I can't believe it's in the hardback because I was telling you guys I don't get really hardbacks, always trade paperbacks. But this one, hardback, a Harleen by Black Books. By Stefan Sitchik, I guess this is how you say the name. So it came in Black Books. It's a very nice size of the atypical comic. So I mean trade paperback, but it's like much wider, which is great for his art style. And then that's the front cover, of course. And then you have a Joker and a story about Harleen.
Oh, okay.
And I will, people show I like Harley Quinn, so I always gonna see if I'm gonna see something, I'm gonna also get it. But I haven't read it yet. But of course, there's also Batman, always Batman around.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's a calling card. But yeah, it's quite interesting. We'll see. It's Black Books. Hopefully, it's gonna be, and it's book 1 out of I guess 2. But anyway, so my library had it. I had to get it. And then, so I was thinking, great. So I'll maybe talk about it next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about these magic things. So the Book of Magic. Of course, there is, what's her name? Bilgis Evely in here, in this one a little bit, not as much. The main, for volume 1 at least, the Tom Fowler is the artist for this first volume. So it's Neil Gaiman's creation. Apparently he was saying about, well, there's a rumor saying that he created Harry Potter. This is how actually he was the one who's created Harry Potter, and she stole everything behind, the creator of Harry Potter. Now, why do I blend her name? But that's me. I always do that. Anyway, so Book of Magic. There's lots of things came out with Sandman Universe. Of course, I haven't fully read the Sandman Universe, but I just, this is something brand new. The art is fantastic, and especially when you see like this kind of pages, it just makes you mesmerized. And like the color schemes, of course, and it is still talks about like DC Vertigo. So it's nice to see. I love J.K. Rowling. Thank you, Ragamuffin, like always. I don't remember names like when I want to say something. But this panels, so I think it's Evely's art in a couple of first pages, and then you have Tom Fowler coming in fruition about our Timothy Hunter, who is the main character in this book. But what it does start with is so the library, or the dreaming world, where for our Sandman is king of it, of course. And you have this, is it Lucifer or Lucian? Lucian. He is the one who's librarian of the books in here. But this pumpkin guy who is apparently very gross when it comes to talk to females. He's a bit of a, stalker, let's say it this way, or the way he presents himself. Foul mouth, pumpkin head, I guess. But they have a problem. So the dreaming world is cracking, and it's a problem. Something's happening, and people are, of course, of the realm. It's petrified. So they go to Lucian and ask him to go to talk to the king, to ask him to come back and help us. What's happening? Maybe you can explain to us. Blah blah blah. And apparently he's gone. He's nowhere to be seen. So they get this Crow character. Of course, if you're well aware of Sandman Universe, you'll know that all the characters. And now, what's his name? Oh, whatever. But anyway, so he goes to look for it because as a crow, he sees everywhere. He can travel through dreams, and it just basically rolls the story in here. I absolutely love this character. Her name is Dora, like explorer, but not. But she has this crazy wings. But she has this ability to go to people's dreams, even though only our Sandman character can. So it's kind of interesting the way they evolves in this. And this is really heartfelt story about she goes into this dream of this lady, but actually she's in the hospital dying. So she can't eat because she has a cancer in the stomach. So what she dreams about is making pancakes and feeding everybody pancakes. So we're having this conversation together of like, how dare you being in this dream? How can you even be here? And she's like, go away from here. Don't leave it. Because what Crow does is it goes to your dream, wakes you up, and that's how it goes to real reality, basically. This is his ability to do that. So she basically tells him, go away, leave this lady alone. She's such a nice lady. She feeds me thing like pancakes. And when she gets angry, she looks like this, which is very scary. It's very fitting for a dreaming world. So absolutely horrendously look. So anyway, very good, entertaining. So anyway, we still, the main character is Tim Hunter. So it's Tim supposed to be the greatest magician in the world, but he doesn't have his abilities yet. And he goes into school and things happens to his teacher. Also, they are talking about he goes to the Crow is basically going to look for our the king, the Sandman, and Lucifer. And Lucifer, of course, looks like Bowie. No matter how they try, and I think they're doing that on purpose. Bowie everywhere, Bowie. So Lucifer is Bowie. Anyway, so yeah, and he meets the Lucifer in here to ask his questions, but Lucifer has his own troubles. Apparently, he has a son, but he doesn't want to really get involved in his son's life, but he wants to look for the mother of a son. So absolutely fantastic when you get into this world. But really good covers, of course, by creators, and a lot of interesting tales, and I'm hooked. It's such a fast read, really good pace. And of course, when you start reading about Tim Hunter, you cannot, unfortunately, cannot go and think if you didn't, of course, you know Harry Potter, and I absolutely love Harry Potter. Yep. This is just like Harry Potter 2.0 or 1.0, I guess. I don't know who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm really pleased I found it. So I'm continuously gonna go into it. And then he gets in trouble. He's looking for his mom. Mom left him behind. Not like Harry Potter's parents died by somebody, but he is looking for his mom to basically be sane. And he has dad who has only one arm. So his life as a child is not really great. So, and then he's doing all this magic things and stuff like that by learning from books, and people are trying to prevent him to learn because, as I say, they're superstitious and there's things happening around. So absolutely fantastic. Such a and such a lovely ways to look. Even Tim Fowler's, like there's panels like these where this creature, the kid can actually go into realms. So he made his own key to go into dreaming world. Just like, okay, I'm just gonna make something up, and then just opens the door and it's just it's like, what are you doing here? Are you dreaming? No, you're not dreaming. Why are you talking to us? Like kind of thing. And he thinks that this is actual Sandman, but it's not. It's one of the things, whatever happens, which they don't really reveal to us. And then he gets a pet owl who's protecting him, like blah blah blah. Harry Potter once again, owl friend, protector. So it's just interesting, and he kind of doesn't have a scar, but very much looks like Harry Potter at the end of the day.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Anyway, so yeah.
Especially on the front cover.
Yeah. I think Ivor Gaiman or Rowling said that they were just inspired by same book. The Once Future King. Yeah. Anyway, so very good. So far we have this. So this book is actually says written by Neil Gaiman, that actually the story was written by Cat Howard. So, and Simon Spurrier and Dan Waters and Neil Hopkins. So quite a few creators for just the beginning of the book. And there's more stuff happening with, as I said, with Tim, which is actually main character of all this so far. So absolutely fantastic, to be honest. It's really good. I know why people were really enjoying this. And there's another ones, isn't it? There's not only this book of magic, there's some other ones. I think Bill Quaid, I don't know how to say her name. But Everly artist, she's the one who basically where I wanted to explore more. But unfortunately, in here, she was just in a couple of like first beginning story. But anyway, other creator was absolutely fantastic as well. So
yeah, that's cool. Very cool. It looks great.
very good for my library. I was like, woo, woo, like almost like jumping, and just like, how old are you? Like, it's like I felt like a child, to be honest. But that's how we support our libraries. You know, you're more supporting them, the more there's good things coming out. So thank you.
No, I haven't been to ours for a little bit. I should pay a visit again to see what I can find.
Well, the stuff like that, you know, they are very recent and they have collected editions. So it's great for me just to get into it and see what's all the fuss about. And the fuss is real. The fuss is real.
Yeah. The FOMO's real.
Yeah, very much so. Okay. What else are you going to show us?
Why don't I show you? I mean, I feel like I'm a broken record with some of this stuff because it's some of the stuff that I like every single time, and I just feel like I say the same thing all the time. But this one was an incredibly touching story. Literally brought tears to my eyes by the end of it. This was, I love this story so much. Like, I love this book so much. All of the storyteller stuff. I mean, like a lot of us probably, I've got a huge soft spot for Jim Henson anyway, because I grew up on that stuff. So the story is about Darcy Little Badger, and then the art by Alexandra Fastovitz, a Ukrainian artist. And I can't remember Darcy's nationality off the top of my head, but she's written for kind of the Marvel Indigenous Voices series as well.
Nice.
It's a beautiful, it's such a great story, and the art is gorgeous. As soon as I turned the page to reveal this art, I was completely just kind of transfixed by it. And it's just a really nice story of this little girl growing up and just loving dancing, and she discovers these reed people that live kind of in the woods, and they have been around for generations, and they know all the generations of dances. So she kind of learned some of the history of her peoples, and I'm really apologetic. I can't remember the character's background because that's a pretty big part of the story, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. She has an indigenous background, so a lot of her kind of ancestral dancing, the reeds have remembered, and they kind of teach her, and it just kind of follows this main girl through her life as she kind of grows up and becomes a very, very well-respected ballerina. And she kind of, so we see her at a couple of different points, and she goes back to visit her family. Of course, the first thing she does is go and catch up with the reed people again, and they're grown up as well too, and kind of talking to her about, like, you know, how things are going, and you know, she asks if they have any other dances that they could teach her, and they teach her a dance from her people's history, which then she goes back and talks to her mom, who says that I thought that it was lost. I thought it was a dance that was lost to the ages. So she kind of teaches her, and it just kind of gets better and better as it goes. This kind of idea of connecting with your past, of your, not only your family, but like generations before you. And then for the last chunk, we see her at an old age in an old folks home, and kind of like the same thing. So she gets kind of put to bed, and she looks out her window and sees the reed people again, and she kind of goes and hangs out with them again. It's just such a moving story. It's really, really, I feel shivers actually talking about it again. But the art is just so gorgeous. I love this so much. Coloring, I should say, the coloring. The colors by James Fenner. So let's get the actual credits up there for everybody. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, you can't, like I say every single time, you can't go wrong with the storyteller stuff. This is great. I read the first one with Lillian. We'll read this one together again too, probably tonight. But I mean, I couldn't wait. It's one of the ones that as soon as I get it, It's one of the first ones that I read every time. So yeah, highly recommended on that one.
You're getting soft in your old age, Taran.
I totally am. Yeah, that's what I said on Twitter. I'm a soft touch.
Yeah.
Well, it's just nice to hear. Like, it's just nice to hear other people's voices, first of all, and something that's obviously a little personal to her. She's written novels apparently too. She's done a lot of writing in a bunch of different places. Some comics work as well too. But it's just great to see kind of another take on things. And that's the great thing about the storyteller stuff. It's a lot of folk tales, and it travels the world. You get all sorts of people's stories from all sorts of cultural backgrounds, right? So it's really, really nice way to present those stories in kind of this one-off short story form, right? And that was just a really tight one, because some of them, they're all entertaining. Some of them, it feels sometimes a little rushed. It feels sometimes maybe, I don't know, like maybe you want more, but this is a perfect kind of chunk of like one little story. Yeah.
Great. Well, it looks very good, as I say. The art, definitely. So surely they get collected as well, have collected editions, isn't it?
They do, yeah. I think they do these kind of nice hardcovers. I'm pretty sure the one that I bought for Lily a long time ago was the Fairies one. I think they're the same thing like with the Ablaze stuff, though. The hardcovers aren't much bigger than an actual comic size, but still, it's a nice way to get and I don't know if they've done any bigger collections, because it would be nice to see a few of them in like a nice hardcover.
Go without saying he's going to pick up Storyteller this week.
Yeah.
Good. Well, join the bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How is it? There's a show for that?
Okay. Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was a story. It was a show. It was great. I didn't know that it's streaming though. That's pretty great. I haven't seen it forever.
Do you remember last week we were talking about Usagi's, that new TV show?
Yep.
I didn't look for the trailer. I didn't do it on purpose, but I just looked at the poster kind of thing or heading from the Netflix stuff. And it does look like Kung Fu Panda. It's very much kid-like. Of course, as a hard fan of like Usagi's, I guess it would be huge. Like, it would be so much more dreamy if it would be done like that, like what your fan Sakai does it. But you can't expect them to do fully that. But I just really want to see how they're going to portray the character itself, because as a child, like more related to children, it will be interesting if it's going to be like happy-go-lucky bunny, which is that's not how it goes at all with him. That will be completely going opposite of the character. So that would be an interesting way if they're going to go the moody, like serious Ronin type, or it's just going to be happy, which is not bad to have a happy character, don't get me wrong, but it's how they're going to take that. But it doesn't look amazing.
It really doesn't. Yeah.
I had really high expectations.
Well, I think everybody did, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it just brought you down to the, like, maybe you're asking too much, or...
Well, and I think people had expectations because he's a part of it, right? But, I mean, he very well might trying to explore a different area with the character to give it even more longevity,
Or also create new people or kids who wants to read this book, which is, that's how you start at the end of the day. That's how I influenced my child with buying. I found this used Teenage Mutant Turtles van.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he was ecstatic, my son. So there he goes. Just teach him the right way. Just hint messages. You don't have to shove the books at him. Just hint that there's something better. Like than that stuff. Right. So in a way, similar way. So yeah. There's those minis. So like what Gore Vidal keep on mentioning. It's quite dark. I think he was mentioning that while we were chatting with him, isn't it? I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So next one I will talk about, which is the thumbnail I chose. So is that. So Bryan Talbot, we mentioned Bryan Talbot before because of his other series he's creating, which is I'll tell you what that is. Grandwell. He's very famous for his Grandwell collections of the Badger, who is a detective and doing all that stuff. But this is interesting format first. So it's straight away panel syndicate screams at me because of the way the book is. It's a can't even pronounce it. I'm not going to say it. Anyway, a different way of looking at your book in generally. So, and so this is written by Miriam Talbot, and I presume her husband is drawing it. But it's a fictitious tale. First of all, I need to tell, but it's a tale of a basically how people these days not using and abusing land. So it starts with this explorer. Apparently, this explorer went into Americas in that time before everything happens and all that stuff. Where his name is Alexander von Humboldt. I think it's mentioned here. So he goes to the Americas and then explores the land, and then the native of America, he says to us how you're ripping the earth apart, how you're destroying it. We only have what we have, and then all the nature, what you with human touches really is basically gets destroyed. So it's a little bit more about being conscious. Anyways, I think it's that way of telling how be mindful and be respectful to where you are living at. So kind of like this day's mood you would tell this way, but it's actually entails story in England and actually in Yorkshire. So this is what shows to us what will be at the end of the story. So it's kind of interesting that they will do that, but it's really suits this book because of the, like the view they want to entail and show what like the scale of destruction and stuff like that. I don't know if it's clearly tells you that, but I'll tell you why. And it's called The Rain for a reason, because everything gets destroyed by floods. So in 2015 in Cumbria and Yorkshire, they had this great floods, which were basically in lowlands. People's houses were destroyed. They were like basically covered in water. And in this fictitious tale, our creators, they tried to tell a story about this two female couple. One is absolutely obsessed with being like progressive towards everything, buying organic food, not buying any chemicals, trying to grow everything correctly, not using pesticides, and she's just basically telling this her girlfriend, Kath, and what's her name? I had a name in my head and I forgot it. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, her girlfriend, she basically, she is a kind of like, not archaeologist, but she is the one who explores the actual, again, nature, what happens after the war. So she's exploring the France area where the consequences of war or industrial war, I think she was talking about, where there's consequences from even to this day that it takes ages to recover, kind of fitting to what's happening today in the actually real world at the end of the day. So they exploring more lands, and this group of people are trying to explain how important to maintain the land, even though the land where it absorbs a lot of moisture and it's all kind of like mossy and everything, but it has its own living beings. And apparently this area where we're talking about is owned by a rich guy. So we're talking class in here, who is basically a hunter, and they hunt a oh my goodness, the Scottish this birds. Me explaining to you, and there's the history behind it. Apparently, there's this history behind it, saying that of course hunting is very popular in England to this day. There's lots of it happening everywhere, especially up north. I think it's more pronounced. I guess there's more land to explore and everything. But so in like. They one of the kings who have basically owned the lands prior, like years and 100 years before. They just for sport were killing those birds, and they killed them 2,000 of them in the A1 shooting session. So they those lands they were proprietary, like they had owned. They basically making sure they have the best possible conditions for these birds to. Grouse, there you go, grouse. Oh my god, I remembered finally. So so for the grouse to actually thrive, so they have babies, there's some certain nutrition you have to apply to it anyway. So, and that's basically what these days still happening. So they destroying the land on purposely. They creating a they dig it in order. So what it happens in those moorlands is that it has actually absorption of toxins in the air. It also absorbs the water. So the people who these characters are, especially our main characters, whose name I kind of blanking now, but she lives in lowlands, and she's afraid that her property where she lives at is going to be flooded, and basically people will die, and they don't want it because kind of like like ages of this time we have problems with climate, and rain in England is something you don't really want all the time. But that's what happens, and then that's what they were talking about in this. And it's a beautifully real. It's watercolored. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
And then they dig those trenches in order to reduce the amount of water. That means the foliage of the grass, this particular grass, is basically dying off, and it produces. It's like a sponge. It absorbs all the moisture. So there's a group of people who's trying to basically help it. And this tale is like struggles before, like different couples, different perspectives, and these people who driving here by, this is actual owners of the land. Because the previous owner, he died, so somebody bought it. Some other rich guy bought it, basically, so to own it as well. So for their own pleasure. And yeah, the destruction is kind of real. So they go for hunting, and this is the aftermath. So that many birds have basically killed off, and nobody wants to buy them because they blasted with lead. So nobody wants contaminated basically meal after that. So it's kind of like just for pleasure. But yeah, it's really good tale, and it's like the girl is basically changing her mind. It's basically changed her perspective of living in China. Like she had become more conscious about how she lives, and they struggles as a couple because she's Asian. I think she's more from Indian descent. She lives in London. The different lifestyles kind of thing, and they clash and they know each other. But then when she goes and meets them or goes to the Yorkshire, they meet up with all her friends and people, like you get influenced by other people. And I think it's quite nice the way they talk about nature, how you have to be respectful towards things, which I kind of like. I'm becoming more and more conscious of that, because I think when you become a mother, it tends to enhance a bit more. When you are alone or you're in a couple, let's say this way, you tend to forget what's happening around you. You become such a self-centered person. So, but when you become a mother and you know that you have to actually think about the future of their future, it's actually quite, it becomes more importance of you, and it should be important no matter where you start from. It doesn't matter if you become a parent. I think it just needs to be naturally understanding that not everything can be consumed by us and just dumped on the ground and think everything is going to be all dandy. But the color scheme is great. So that's her dad, Kath's dad, who is he likes hunting as well, but he does clay shooting, the clay pigeon shooting, so it's not so bad. But still, it's it's not, people needs to clean up after themselves. But I really like the way they represent the time of year. So this tree basically in the panels represents when time of year it actually happens. So you turn in the theme change of the coloring, and then you have the tree going greener, so summertime. Then there's water, and then it's just, as I say, very well made, like really well done. And Talbot's is like the way they're trying to portray the messages, especially the dad is a different color scheme as well. So you never get lost to who you're talking to, why you're talking, and where you're talking at. And then they go explore, because we have a lot of footpaths, no matter how many lands you own, there's public pathways so you can go for a walk with. In England, it's actually quite a lot everywhere. Like even here where I go, it's kind of odd for me because I'm not brought up in this country, but I'm getting used to it. But like you walk like in the middle of a field of nowhere, and actually somebody owns it, but you're still able to walk because it's public path, and you're like, that's odd. You feel like like you're trespassing or something like that. And then how strong she believes in her ways is that she saw this bottle of detergent, what we usually use to clean up your surfaces like that. She went absolutely ballistic on her, and they had like full blown row between two of them, because like, how dare you put in the this pested, like what she says, like this killing things for nature, or nature killers as she call it. And once again, so this autumn, and the tree is still representing that time of the year, which is absolutely fantastic, I think, because period of time goes, and I didn't realize until like you flipping through, I didn't realize at the time, but it's actually the time of the year And then, of course, they go to London to publicly protest, of course, about fracking, which is quite popular in this country as well, to get those shell fuels and stuff like that. But yeah, it's still continuously the theme, and it's really nicely done. It's very clean cut, but what the paper they use, it's actually really suits this watercolor. It seems to be that it actually is being drawn on the book by itself, like you have on original art, because how it feels like it's watercolor paper. So it's really nice. You can't see it on the screen for sure, but I was surprised how much I wanted to understand what's happened. So basically, while they were complaining about everything, it did happen. The flood actually happened in their house. So they were basically had to be rescued, and the amount of water was coming so fast that even in second floor, they weren't able to basically escape on themselves. So they had to get like you see, the boats was even coming into the town center because how much water this came through. And you have your BBC crew like recording this, like you have to, because it's English, so all your familiar sites is always there at the present. So but yeah, and they get rescued by the boat, but then she gets hit by one of the bricks, one of the characters, and she gets in the water. And what happens with the water, it got contaminated with sewage.
Oh, dude.
So it actually was people, when they had to basically clean the town, they had to wear masks because it was so contagious that you could, and it stank for actually when it happened in the area for reals. This is a fake story, as I said, mentioned earlier, but when it happened for reals, people were saying it's like you cannot imagine. You feel like you live in sewage, literally, because everything's been lifted. So yeah, but what happens is the girls like become more close to each other, and like things happens in the good way kind of thing, and they became, actually they lost the owner lost he was there's a special like RSPC or something like for the lands and stuff like that, similar to it, and the guy got caught and they got basically jailed for a while and got fined as well. And then people are so happy because they could basically release the correct animals to nature, who actually helps those boglands, that's what they call them, to basically thrive again and actually help the pollution and stuff like that. So yeah, it's absolutely fantastically done book, really nicely designed, and I guess really they worked really hard on representing it. And honestly, it wasn't boring. I was like thinking, too much of the messages you want to show to us, like sometimes the people, when they get to like put the message down your throat, but it didn't feel like it. It didn't feel like that at all. You're just like, oh yeah, like kind of things, what's happening is kind of, and they start writing this after the happening. She got inspired by it, and then she created this fictional tale about these two characters together, about kind of real life situations, what usually happens, and the classes between people, how the rich and the poor, it's such a gap distance now. It's even getting worse now because of you guys know exactly what's happening in the world anyway, but the gap of that is increasing significantly. And then whatever riches decides to do, usually the poorer will suffer more because they don't have the funds usually. So yeah, very
beautiful. That's really nice art in there. I like that.
Yeah, and Talbot's art is not like I've seen it in his Granville.
Yeah,
it's kind of like something you have to kind of get used to it, because it's like small panels, lots of things happening in the panels, black and white as well. But in this one, I guess I'm a fan when they do the watercolor right, and this is really nicely done. And I wanted to experience the book like that, especially. I mean, I did experience with Peanuts, kind of similar but smaller. But this one is very wide, very parano. I can't say the name. I don't know why. Panel shot.
Yeah,
I can't pronounce that bloody word in my head. Anyway, so yeah, it's really good. It works really well, and yeah, I enjoyed it. And actually, kind of like Tick, I know exactly what I'm trying to do as well. Very conscious for the nature, and all. At least I'm trying to. There's certain things you can't afford, so it's not your like thing you can do all the time. But if I can, I always try to be more cautious and use less bloody plastic, which just annoys me the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Especially when they wrap your fucking cucumbers, each of them.
Yep.
Individually, it was just like, why?
We have this program going on here in the city. It's these billboards that they drive me a little bonkers, because what they do is you can kind of scan your plastic and you put it in, you recycle it, and you can win prizes, that sort of thing. So you can win money prizes. And it's always one of the things of like, motherfucker, if you didn't wrap this shit up in plastic for us, guess what? We wouldn't be able to buy it. It's because one of the things that always drives me nuts with all of this kind of stuff is the onus is always put on us as the population, when it's just the manufacturers have the option. They could just decide not to wrap everything in 97 layers of plastic. Then guess what? We wouldn't have a decision to make, because it wouldn't be available, right? So it always drives me bonkers.
Yes, it's always a little man who has to pick up all the pieces and then start to fucking recycle, just because you think that you're and your polyurethane and all that shit goes crazy.
You're not doing your part. Why aren't you doing your part? Fuck you, because there's no options for me. That's why.
Yeah. Another thing, that's why I go to, when I buy toys for my kid now, always used. I try at least as much. Like, it's about 90% of his toys now is used, not new. Because I cannot just like, every day, like not every day, but like every single time you buy something and you're like, why brand new? This truck, for example, I got, yes, it's not perfect, but entertaining for him as much as like we're gonna be entertaining for me. If he doesn't want it anymore, I can just display it, because I like turtles, like something like that. So I'm trying to kind of always go to like charity shops, buy toys for him, or even show him charity shops, go with him and just like pick. And he can pick one, and he does, and he's ecstatic. It's almost like brand new for him at the end of the day. So
totally.
If I can teach him that kind of slight little thing, like less plastic on that sense, it's great, because boy, kids like toys, man. Oof.
Yeah, well, toys are fun, man.
I know. I like collect them. Look at the back of there. Look like it's just collection of yours. Yeah, you too.
Yeah. Well, and that's the hard thing, right? Like, and that's where it takes a little bit of, it's challenging. It's not fucking easy, but at least being conscious of it and trying to make the right decisions is a big thing.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, your turn. On that mood.
On that note, let's see here.
Oh, no.
This one.
What do you have?
So I caught up.
Oh.
Catching up on stuff, and I've caught up on
yes,
for Vengeance number 5 and number 6.
And
so I was glad to finally catch up. I mean, I won't show the art. We all are well familiar with the art on it, but it seems like, holy shit, it was this really kind of easy pace for the first 4 issues.
I know.
5 and 6 really picked up. I wasn't 100% sold on issue number 5. I still wasn't sure, because of that residue that happened in the previous issue with the kid that was sleeping. They had to go back for. I found 5 was still entertaining enough, but I found 6 was really, really good. I liked issue 6 quite a bit. That brought back in some of that mystery type of element, and that kind of slowed things down. It feels like 4 and 5 just went nuts, and then 6 kind of brought us back to the first few issues, where we're going to kind of get a little segment to the story, and there's enough mystery going on. His pacing is something, because I mean, it feels like at this point, after 6 issues, I love his art, I love his pacing, I love all of that stuff, but it is starting to feel like there is a certain, like, okay, it's the end of the book, so let's have those couple of panels where it's like dun dun dun, like that type of thing, where it's like, all right, we get it. You don't always have to end on that note, you know what I mean? Like, so I'm not saying that it's easy by any stretch. It's just I am starting to notice some of those kind of rhythmic things, that seem to really be set out that way. But man, oh man, it's a good book. When he goes into that bar here and he's talking to the guy and everything, like that was a great scene. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. So
it's like a joke, like, Asian man goes into a bar and
it's like a joke. Yeah,
it's like you're having a conversation and everybody just looks back at you like, oh, I'm in the wrong place in the wrong time. Well,
and that bartender knowing exactly what to say, and like, I just saved your life, and it's pretty good. Like, so you get this sense of danger.
Exactly. And also that 6th issue was with that kid. That was hard to read about, because of mom, and have a child, like a boy as well, and what happened to mom is like, oh my god. But I do understand about the pacing for sure. I think that's Rick Remender stuff. I think he always likes to get you to get invested, of course, in everything. But it does. It's very entertaining. It's just we're still guessing, and of course our patience is quite thin these days. For everything because there's so much. Like we always mention that. I think we're kind of repeating ourselves, but everything there's so much choice.
Yeah.
So when you have something like which is a bit more like it slows down a little bit, you're like, come on, get to the point. I really want to, like you say, dang, 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 and you're like, poof.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, I want more after that. But
well, the thing is, like, I'm coming back. You don't have to have that moment.
Yeah, I know. But
like I'm reading it. You don't need to kind of like give me something to like make sure I come back next month. I'm gonna probably forget anyway, or not be able to afford it for a couple more months, or not get down to the shop, or whatever it is, right? So, I mean, I'll dip in when I can. But you said something and it triggered. Oh, the piece of the story with the main character too, like when they're on the roof and they're roofing, and that whole conversation is pretty good. Like, you don't know anything about me, and he's just like, dun. Yes, I actually do. And if I can find this shit out, they can find this out. So don't fuck around. You know what I mean? It was a really good kind of moment. And it was also nice to get a little bit of his history, the main character's past. Like, that's now 6 issues in. We now have another chunk of the puzzle of who he is and how he discovered this and why he got involved. And it's good, man. I'm really digging it. I like it.
Yeah, Mind the Comics is here. Hello, Mister.
Oh, Mind the Comics. Hello, G.
I don't know how you say good evening in Portuguese. I know how to say hello, bom dia, but then that's my Portuguese as far as I go. But I don't know, good afternoon. Anyway, so by the way, about this, I think everybody say maybe it's too late and stuff like that, but think about it. Don't never forget if you haven't tried, and then when you think you haven't tried after, when you're passing days because you always reminisce whatever happens, think about that one. Because I always do. Because like when you always think, my mom, like, oh, you're my age and I wish I have done that. I already start thinking that, for God's sake. Which is Buonanotte. Oh, okay. There you go. Buonanotte. Okay. Let's go. Let's learn Portuguese now. In here. Anyway, so we'll interesting. But that righteous thingy comic is very good. And is it like 6 issues? So is it gonna stop now? Because this is
no, it's still going. I mean, he might. I don't know if they have a hiatus planned or anything, but and I hope it still kind of keeps the same schedule. I haven't heard otherwise, but I wouldn't be the guy that would have heard it anyway. It would probably be Damien that would know something about
me too. I am usually the last person to hear, like, what?
Yeah.
Is that happening? Okay, me.
Yeah, but I dig it though. It's a great book. Really, really great.
So Mr. Damien, Sleepy Lady 66, decides to show something. I was like one of the books he ordered. And this one DC books, of course, Legion Superheroes.
Oh, yeah.
I was asking about, because it's not expensive books. I was thinking maybe I could get it, but I, of course, wanted to. Rick Ray says it is ongoing. Okay, good. Great. Anyway, so I always wanted to get in kind of a superheroes, kind of interesting, like DC's lore, which is sometimes, like I hear it, I listen to it, and then sometimes I want it. So I basically asked about the question on Twitter, and they said to me, maybe you should read this story. So of course I didn't get it like straight away. I don't have comic book shops around me, but digital is another way of doing that. I guess I should be, but I haven't finished it because it has 450 pages.
Oof.
And I'm just like scratched it because I only read it digital. I start reading before I go sleep. It's the least. I shouldn't do it, actually. It's recommended not to do it because you basically activate your brain a bit more when you should. But I guess it makes me
colors from the screen and stuff. Yeah. The light.
But it makes me sleepy, so I guess that works.
Yeah.
Great cover. So it's Paul Levitz, Keith Giffen, and Larry Molstead. Let's say this way. Creative team, it says in here, but there is the Grey Darkness saga. Apparently introduced you to Legion of Superheroes a bit better. So it was recommended like that because there's vast history, crazy amount. There's like 400 issues run or something like that. Crazy. Anyway, but there is this little forward words told about our writer Paul Levitz, and how he was basically came back and got inspiration to do Legionnaires again because he's doing some run, and this is, he says, is the best run or the best story he's written for the Legion of superheroes. Very good to read. So one of the good things when you have collected something, especially in digital or whatever, in book format, to tell you a little bit of story. And if you don't want to skip a couple of pages because it's too much to read, it's actually quite interesting because they dabble into the history, which is what I like about comic books in the first place anyway. So it starts with issue 284. Which is like, what? Because of how many issues before that was. Anyway, crazy. So as I say, crazy history behind. But then here we have the beginning. So it doesn't really start. So if you go, like what I tried to look at first, a comic single format, see how many issues. While I was Googling, it was giving me 5 issues. But they start in here, the whole story starts from like 6 issues prior to that. So I was like really confused at first. So I didn't go, of course, single issue format. So I went to see what collected editions look like and the prices and so on and so forth. So in digital format, if that's how it was, apparently this was collected 2000 something year 7 or 8, maybe, I don't know, but out of print or very expensive.
Yeah.
Because it's very popular apparently. And there's it's the beginning of the Soul Thief from the Stars. So it's a little bit confusing for me. There's shitloads of characters, many names I forgot because there's so many of them. But it's the way it's written. It's like a team, superhero team, almost like like your Justice League of America. But it's like a kiddie kind of, like it seems to be like a young adults age kind of thing group. And then there's this it starts with this duo created, and they have this ring which is apparently the key to your Legion of Superheroes. Of course, the people who is very into this creators, and I think a lot of like Damien was reading when younger, or other people who has been reading this book from a young age. So it really applies to that. It's kind of written that way. It doesn't, I'm not saying that it's not good read as a grown-up adult. It's still very entertaining, but it's I'm still kind of very confused too, because like I have 42 members in this group.
Oof.
And they just scratched a couple of them. And it's like, it's very entertaining. So as I say, very entertaining group to read, but I'm still kind of baffled to where things happening. Of course, they have a disaster happening, they go to help them. There's lots of disagreement, who is in charge, who isn't, who's going to leave the team, who isn't. But the main story hasn't yet been dabbled into it. It's just like a prologue, I guess, before you get into it. But there are lots of space action. They have space stations, aliens who's invading so far, and I'm interested because it's a group of, like, as I say, superheroes dealing with stuff, and they between conversations is entertaining. So I can't really get to the point of how I feel about them until I actually kind of get a grasp of them, because I still haven't got that, because it just what's the purpose of them haven't yet explained. I don't know I don't think it will be, because there's a couple of groups of in here, when they was at the beginning of this issue, they explain how they want to leave it, because they're a married couple, they want to live a life, and then they decide there's things happening, and there's some interesting powers. She almost looks like Miss Marvel from Marvel. It's kind of like mishmash, because of course superheroes almost have similar things. How many super powers can you invent in that time? But yeah. So far,
who's doing art on it?
Huh?
Who's doing art on it again?
And this issue in particular starts with Pat Broderick and Bruce Patterson. So it's 2 creators in here.
It's a pretty interesting style, like especially that first page, that 3/4 over the shoulder kind of shot. It looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's really good. But there is,
at least in my mind, anyway.
Yeah, there is. But in digital format, it's much more difficult. But it does. I mean, this very kind of, I think, it's like DC style, like even further issues which I have not read yet. It's kind of similar to that. things. But apparently Keith Giffen is gonna draw them as well, and there's quite a. But I can't see yet where, and I can't tell you where it is. But I'm just gonna say that I basically I'm attempting to dabble into this crazy world of Legion of superheroes and see where it gets to me. But apparently Keith Giffen wasn't in agreement with our creator, but somehow we found agreement, and then he got so inspired by both of them got so inspired from each other that they created quite a actually fantastic run, according to people who has read more than me. So I'm just, as I say, dabbling into it and just exploring more history, I guess, of the DC universe or Marvel universe, like I always like to do. But yeah, it's very, I mean, spacey. A lot of superheroes, if you want that kind of thing. But as I say, it's kind of confusing still as a newbie.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Because when when I read, like, they sit in a like great hall of theirs and there's a round table, like all that stuff, and there's 42 members. So like you're like, what the fuck? How do you remember all of them? Kind of thing. So we'll see how I feel. But so far, I mean, so far it hasn't completely sold me for it. But as a read, it's not bad because it's just, as I say, the conversation between characters is entertaining enough, and the writing is not difficult, even though there's lots of speech bubbles. Which is what slows me. So I'm like 45, like 2.5 issues in, and it's not like your breeze through DC these days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Anyway, are we talking about apocalypse or some shit?
Crapocalypse.
Crapocalypse, yeah. Jeez. Okay, so what's next for you, mister?
I mean, I can talk about this one briefly.
Briefly?
So I'm still picking up Cowboy Bebop, the series here. I'll open it up. Give me a second.
When you showed this, I was like, is it even in comic format? I didn't even know.
Yeah. So this is issue number 2 from Titan is putting this out. It's fun. I still haven't finished the series, and I don't intend to because it really wasn't good. I think we watched 2. But this comic is really, really fun. This is kind of what it should be, and I think one of the complaints that I had about the show was I just don't think that this originally anime, now comic as well too, I just don't think it translates to a live action world because of kind of some of the silly, goofy things that happen. There's stuff that happens in here that I think can only happen in comics and anime. When you translate it to live action, it just misses something. So this one there, it's kind of part 2 to the story, and honestly, I could barely remember what the first part of the story was. They were looking for something, though, a gem or some sort of thing, and they go to this planet, and this planet, it wasn't supposed to be inhabited, and they find that it's inhabited by a whole bunch of people. Actually, like there's a small town there. Where's that shot again? As they fly in, there we go. So right there, they can see kind of the town, and they're kind of investigating. They followed a lead to this planet, and they're investigating as to what the atmosphere is like. And it turns out it's a little intoxicating. So the longer you're there, your cares start to dissipate. You get into this very relaxed, and everybody's high basically all the time. And it's such a great little story because there's all this stuff that they bring to it, because they're kind of, like she's kind of a criminal to some degree, right? And they're bounty hunters and all this. So she's cheating them at cards, and they just don't care. He's sitting on the porch. Jets, one of the other main characters, is sitting on the porch with this guy and his kids, and just talking. They're talking about life on the planet. Like nobody fights, nobody gets into argues. Nobody wants for anything. The crops really grow wonderfully. We're never in a position where we don't have enough food. So it's really this utopia. And by the end of it, a couple of them are like, we got to get the fuck out of here. I need some conflict in my life. I need something. It's just this. They're faced with this utopia, and they just they kind of say no to it and take off. Except for Spike here, Spike Spiegel. He kind of has an affinity for this place. So it's a really, really great story. And
Yeah.
I'm totally on board for the whole thing. And this art style, I think, is wonderful. It
Mhm.
reminds me of Tony Moore a little bit, maybe. Reminds
Mhm.
me. It feels like it reminds me of a Rick Remender story previous. I don't know if it's like Low or something like that, but it has some really nice style.
Mhm.
Yeah, hey, I'm surprised.
Mhm.
It's a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Even if it is one of those books that has like 97 different covers, and you
Yeah.
really have to pay attention that you're buying issue number 2 as opposed to one of the other issue number 1s. With how long it's planned for,
Uh-huh.
but the next one comes out right away sometime this month. So,
There you go.
and there's the ad for the movie or the TV show or whatever. But honestly,
Yeah.
stick to the anime. Check this out because it's a really fun book. Even if I can't remember big chunks of the actual thread, it doesn't really matter.
So the writer, I was thinking, wow, you showed me the writer. I was like Dan Waters. So
Yeah.
I was thinking, I've read it something. So Homesick Pilots, I was reading. I haven't finished. I mean, I dropped it because I was
Okay.
thinking I'm gonna do the. It's reads better. Hopefully, it will read better for me
Great or
in
something.
trade format. Yeah.
Mhm.
So he writes that. He also wrote Lucifer, which people were
Oh,
raving about. Also from the Sandman universe, which I was getting from the library. He also wrote some other things. Well, let me just. I think I looked it up as well. Arkham City. Like he's very into the Transformers.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's kind of interesting that it is so Cowboy Bebop is there part of it, and then Superman, of course, some Wonder Woman series. So the guy wrote a few new stuff, I guess. But yeah, his writing is good. It's switched on, like quick paced, and it's nice. Not the way he's like explaining all that stuff.
It was great. It just really felt like the anime because the anime had kind of an arc throughout, especially a few episodes, but there wasn't even a subtle arc throughout the entire thing. But
Mhm.
each one of the episodes was really good with taking this kind of introducing a couple of odd
Yeah.
characters and odd situations
Yeah.
while not losing track of the kind of underlying theme, but not hitting you over the head. It's almost like an afterthought. Like this is the very loose thing that we're pushing you through just to
Yeah.
kind of talk to and see these different environments and stuff. So yeah, this was really, really fun. Better than the first issue, I would say. So even if you do read the first one and you're not totally sold, I'd say grab
Mhm.
the second one anyway.
Okay, cool. So it's good. Titan Comics always tries to get into that kind of
Yeah,
new things, whatever is like get on the saddle and stuff like that.
Titan is great. They always have some interesting stuff. You know, they're
Mhm.
another one of those. I see them everywhere here. I don't know how widely they're distributed everywhere else, but I always see Titan on the shelves, and even at all of the shops, not just one of them. Right? Like there's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
Titan books out there.
It's all for me. I have a little bit with Titan comic books. It's hit and miss.
Totally is. Yeah.
You like it's like almost shoot blindly into dartboard and see if it's 100 or 150. Sorry, I had to do that. I mean, I'm doing metaphor, so for God's
Yeah.
sake, you have to get into the rhythm.
140.
Yeah, that was just beautiful. I think that it's funny. I kind of like that part of that. When they that spokesman like when
Yeah.
so the last thing I managed because I'm been doing as I was mentioning to T before we started it, very into green fingers at the moment, so happily because the time changes for us, so it's great. But the last thing I kind of dabble into, unfortunately I didn't read through it because I got distracted by time, I guess. And stuff. But Doctor
Okay.
Strange. Doctor Strange.
Nice.
Because I was, you know what? You remember last week I was like about Gil Kane. Gil Kane. I always talk
Yeah.
about it. And this issue has Gil Kane on.
Yeah.
So of course I had to do it. And it's such a also very always first page is fantastic by Gil Kane. So our Enkelhardt is the author. Gene Colan is an artist, and the way. Ah, so beautiful, isn't it? Alone Against Eternity.
Yeah.
So it's really beautiful, dreamy looking Doctor Strange.
Sure.
And surprising, he says inks. So Chiara Monte inks doing inks in here, which is kind of different. Like maybe I never noticed before. But this comic book was published in 1975. Wasn't even born that time. Anyway, so yeah, it's very fragile. But anyway, good nick this issue I have. Actually, I was very surprised. I was like, oh, maybe I should be more sensitive to it. you know. So as far as I get into, so basically, Doctor Strange is in America, and he's visiting some friends. Apparently, so far where I got into, and then he also have Baron Mordo hidden in one of the rooms. And apparently they saw God, both of them. I don't know which issue I missed reading.
Yeah.
And then Baron Mordo lost his cuckoo, like brain. He gone absolutely blank. Apparently his brain is not there, and you can see Baron Mordo grasping his head, and he doesn't know where he's at, kind of situation. And
Sorry,
then
what number is this? Did you say 15?
No, 10.
10. Because I'm wondering if they're referring to the Marvel feature stuff, like when they saw Genesis. Yeah, like they. Yeah,
look, that's the scene from the where how we saw the God.
Right.
So he says in here, it describes it says Mordo, but he has been in my care for over a year until now. He's been stupefied. Good word, stupefied. His mind an utter blank, which what's why I simplified, not stupefied, but I simplified.
Yeah.
And I took it upon myself to keep him alive, which is interesting for grave thingy, like an enemy of yours. You decided like maybe it's so sinister, Doctor Strange, like I'm gonna keep you alive, so you'll remember your bad deeds or something like that.
Keep you in this room.
Yeah. And anyway, so while they're having conversation, so he steps into the room and magic happens, and Doctor Strange disappears into the mind of Mordo. That's what he's guessing it, which is great, absolutely fantastic. And then of course there's a catch to all of the stuff. It wasn't Mordo who's done that to him, or his subconscious, or his brain, or his whatever brain cells, but it was the Nightmare.
Yeah.
Who behind that stuff? And I haven't finished the reading.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good way of ending. Not ending, but for me, because I hate when I don't know how you're, but if I don't read the whole of one single comic, it's hell annoys me when if I finish like on the middle of the panel. And then I'll decide, so I'm busy, I'm doing something, and I'm like, which panel did I finish at? So I like to finish, and I of course Claire is here, and Gene Colan's Claire is very good, dreamy as well.
Yeah, that's really nice looking stuff.
Oh, some fantastic. But then, spoiler alert: Eternity. So yeah. It's very fantastic things, and one of the best. I mean, I'm so glad I have this. And there's actually, I think, yeah, you can. Maybe not this one yet. No, you can't actually. This is the second volume of Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
not the first one. And they reprint because you can get now the first volume of Doctor Strange Omnibus contains Steve Ditko's run, so Strange Tales. And the second volume now, which came out just recently, contains the first volume.
Right.
And I don't know if we're going to end with a third omnibus. So if we're going to come this way, because this is great. Steve Engelhart's stories are great.
Yeah, I never, I've got the whole run. I was reading a bunch of it, but I just never finished the entire run. But I was reading everything, from the beginning, and I really liked these early issues from what I remember.
The pages like that will, that's what really
great, man.
Yeah, it's really sold me for, I mean, it's a selling point for sure, especially when Eternity gets involved and stuff like that. So, and all the stuff. I'm trying not to look too much because I have a spoiler for me by myself. But it's always, as I say, good to have.
Kind of it turns into abstract art when you sit and you see those colors and shapes and everything on the page, just the way that it looks on the two pages side by side. It's so amazing.
And and it's clever way of they have ads, but they never add it's in between the pages. They always have the splash page, which is absolutely fantastic, to be honest, because there's quite a few ads in here, of course, because Marvel. and we have, of course, strange mails. But I always like, if I just like, I was reading the Daredevil last week. I was talking to you about, and I was really wanting to finish that bloody story for God's sake. But I looked it up on the line and seen the stuff, and then I find one issue. I tried to bid on it. Somebody bid on me over. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake! So it spoiled me. So I was like, leave it. Just go back maybe next week, and then you can read, because there's one issue I'm missing. I told you about that Punisher, which contains in the storyline. But anyway, this is very good.
Yeah,
fantastic. Absolutely one above. I mean, in generally, all the Doctor Strange so far, whatever I mean, opened and dabbled into read is always entertaining.
So did you manage to find the Daredevil issue yet, or no?
No, unfortunately. But I will, I guess. I just need more patience, I guess, because I have. I'm trying not to overpay to what I don't want to pay.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Sutton apparently did good stuff in 70s. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I think all of creators who.
I think it's all great because it's such a character that has just kind of a richness to it, where you can experiment with not only the writing but the art, but I mean also especially the writing. You can really go a little wilder, right? Like, it's really a rich character for that kind of stuff. I mean, and Frank Brunner, of course, yeah, absolutely. Brunner was incredible on it, but I mean, it's just such great stuff. It's really, deeply resonates with me.
I'm not sure how the prices are of this. I think it's pricey anyway. At least the first couple
of months. Pricier, that volume. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, this is not easy, but I'm also so glad that I managed to get into it like before all the stuff happens. Especially, don't buy. Highly recommend. Do not purchase any Doctor Strange single in that era before the movie, because the prices are escalating to no return. The minute the movie finishes, the prices will go down. Like this is what the market entails these days. So yeah, and then
when I was picking it up all those years ago, it was quite a few years ago now, like quite a while ago. They were just filled in dollar bins. Like, that run was all over the place here in town.
Wow.
It was really easy to finish it up. But now I see stuff and I see the prices that some of it is going on, and I don't know. It's whatever. It is what it is. It's unfortunate, but it's the way that it goes.
Yeah. It's like 169. I'm not talking about the ones like his first appearance. You see how it went, like nothing. Poof!
Yeah.
Like 4, 5, 6 grand for like measle, was almost to the where the staple doesn't even cover it properly. It's like, what the hell, people? Relax.
I'm so glad I finally got that one. That 169. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I was able to finally grab it before it was too late.
The Strange Tales, what, 10? Isn't it 10?
The Strange Tales 115 that I bought, and then 110 is the original, the origin.
And I remember watching that one for a couple of hundreds, I think, in that time. And then somebody announced it, like hiccup, like I said, hiccup, somebody or sneezed, and suddenly the comic was went like 10 grand and something like that, some crazy. So
it'll come down, but you're right. Like, especially with they seem to be steeped in the Doctor Strange cinematic stuff now. He'll be around for a while, so give it a little bit of time, and you'll see better prices again eventually.
And that evil version was of his. Apparently, they had those. What if there's one evil one, but not the same as what they're gonna show? Like, do you remember that What If series from Disney? That's basically what you're gonna see in the movies.
Yeah.
Because it's fantastic look of that character. I really liked it. I mean, I enjoyed that.
I loved it.
Yeah, exactly. I enjoy when your character, whoever you like, followed for a while and goes like a little bit like, well, not a little bit, he went crazy. It's like inhaled every single magic thing forever, and he doesn't care. And then this octopus hands comes out of him, like, ooh.
Yeah.
A bit freaky, but I think they're gonna do those multi hands thingy, like that god of India. I don't know which is the name of that. I will not say, but those hands will be, I know I saw it on the trailer. I think he used that power. But I don't think, did they disclose more power of the evil guy or not?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, I've watched the trailer a couple of times now, just because I'm so goddamn excited for it. I cannot wait. But I haven't read much about it. I haven't looked much into who else is in the movie, because I kind of don't want to spoil anything else for myself. The trailers end up showing you a good chunk anyway, but I mean, I think you and I talked about this. I think we all know that some of the Marvel trailers, they kind of bullshit you in the trailers, right? Like they show you that's not actually in the movie, so which is pretty smart.
I wonder if that one, spoiler alert, but if you haven't seen the trailer, is it the marriage is actually who she's marrying? The love life.
Oh, I don't remember that from the trailer. I think I just know
just one frame. I think they used of her. She's just in a wedding gown, holding a bouquet, and stops and then goes to run somewhere else. So no explanation, no talk. It's just her wedding dress,
right?
Okay, so maybe that's alternative universe, huh?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Because that's where it, will be. Oh.
Oof.
Yeah.
Strange probably has the oldest audience of all Marvel titles.
Yeah. And I bought the first 10 issues of Savage She-Hulk for $1 each, 1,000 years.
Yeah. I've got the first one, man. I didn't get it when I should have, but I've got it.
I have a whole run.
Oh wow, yeah.
Of the first run of the first one. I remember the first issue as well, and I maybe what £5, I think £5 I paid for that, and then afterwards, then they mentioned a little bit of that, and of course it's gonna even heat up more. Now you say you saw for 300. Wait until they're gonna show something, because they do a TV show, I think.
That's right. Yeah.
So if it's gonna be at least a little bit entertaining, that comic is gonna be not 300. I think it's gonna be even more.
Shit, that first trailer will come out and it'll still skyrocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's
the first appearances. Yeah, I think it's the first appearances. What's the thing?
Yep.
It's gonna keep the value. I presume so. Even though it's a bit shitty, it's still gonna be first appearance at the end of the day, slapped upon it. Like in the hidden world of our collecting things, and that will increase the prices anyway. So
yeah.
Have you read anything else? Because I'm done.
An absolute shit ton. But
okay.
I won't go through all of it. I'll just kind of do a couple of highlights.
Okay.
I still haven't been able to find Orphan and the Five Beasts issue #1 by Stokoe, but I have 2, 3, and 4. So I just said screw it, and I sat down and read it. And this is an absolute blast of a comic. It's completely ridiculous and completely over the top and outrageous fight scenes and just bizarre, almost like horror story type of elements. I get the gist that he's this woman has been trained in this kind of secret group, and there's these 5 beasts that were also trained in that and sort of went evil, I guess. So she's hunting them down. That's kind of the most, again, it's one of those books where you don't need a premise. You just dive in. Man, is this ever fun. But you get ridiculous stuff like this. So this one giant, he's got these gigantic legs that are extremely powerful. So she kind of cuts through him and cuts him into pieces. And you think that that's the end, but no, it is not the end, because
Ew! What the hell?
Head pokes out and then continues fighting. So this little torso pokes out of these huge legs, and it is fucking absurd, but it is so much fun, and that's what I want out of Stokoe. I want exactly this kind of thing. His art is so energetic. It's really just a stupid book, but really, really great. And the other good thing about it too that I didn't notice until afterwards was all the covers kind of go together in like one panorama.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, highly recommended. So issue 4 kind of comes to an abrupt end. He's only kind of met this second beast here. Stokoe's version of Prison Pit, absolutely Earl Grey. It comes to a kind of an abrupt end with issue #4. And it doesn't say anything at the end about to be continued, or it also doesn't show the cover for the next issue or anything. So I'm not sure the story. I remember Damien saying the same thing before. And then where is it here? So this next guy, he has a restaurant that people that people flock to, and he sells meat. And we find out at the end of the issue what the meat
Ew.
is, and it's from his own body, because his body can regenerate itself. So he's selling slices of his own arms to get people addicted. Yeah, totally bizarre.
Yeah.
Kind of horror, kind of like classic Japanese horror with the yokai and stuff like that. That's kind of what it feels like to me. But yeah, I mean, I could talk about it forever, but it's really, really fun. I'm glad that I waited till all 4 issues were out. But I just can't find issue number 1 locally. And I've looked at every spot, every back issue bin so far, and I just can't find it. So I'm going to have to order away for it, I think. I'm going to have to look for it online. But I hope it keeps going, and I hope it has a long run. I would easily eat up 12 issues of this series without hesitation. So
Yeah.
that was a blast.
On eBay, if you want the issue number 1, it's just labbed, 9.9. 9.9. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. 9.9.
It's only $439. Somebody said.
Yeah.
That's the one you should go for.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's only 4 issues, yeah?
So far, it's only been 4 issues. I mean, like I said, the way that this one ends, Angela Lopez thinking, I'm glad I jumped off this title. Hilarious. I think the way that it ends, it's not done. She hasn't faced the 5 beasts. She's only faced 2 of them.
Oh,
so really, there's more to go, but it just leaves it at a point where there's no sign of anything else.
There you go.
There you go. Andrew Lopez, hit me up.
Yeah. Wink, wink. Send me a message.
So, I mean, I hope that there's more. Maybe he's just taking a hiatus. Maybe he has to catch up. I feel like he's an artist that pumps this stuff out to some degree. And I thought from past stuff, I think when he did Godzilla, the whole thing before they released the first issue, he's one of those guys like gets everything done. I don't know if that's a mandate for some of these smaller.
So it's a one-man band, yeah? So he does art and story?
That's true. He does art, story, everything, coloring, everything himself. Yeah. And
how is
color palette, it sometimes kind of works for me and sometimes it doesn't. In this one, it really works for me because he tends to use the same color palette for all of his work.
Yeah.
So that can get a little samey, but it really makes his stuff stand out. I mean, stand out even more than it already does. You know what I mean?
So as a artist first, how is his writing? Do you feel like sticky, or is it goes?
No, it's perfect for the nonsense that's on the page. It's absolutely perfect. Yeah. I mean, it's over the top. It's silly. It's kind of comical. Orkstein was the first time that I saw him, and I think that might have been his first series. Awesome, Angela Lopez. That would be great. That Orkstein was fantastic, and I think he just has this. He's got this style that works well with the visuals. Yeah, bit overly orange. Yeah, orangish brown. The whole thing, and that's kind of that cover. You know what I mean? That's the color palette. It's changed a little bit over the years. I'd say it's a little different now than what it used to be. But when you see his stuff, you generally have the same colors.
That guy you just saw in that cover looks like the guy, the character from Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the like short hair there, the beard, but overly blown proportions. This looks like, I don't know this name, Russian, I guess, the name of the character.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's remind me of that.
Yeah.
Also have pages. Oh,
really? Hey, see, I didn't know that. Lemire's Moon Knight run. Huh.
Yeah, because you would like Moon Knight because the Smallwood, is the main artist. So.
Oh, okay.
So if from the Marvel series, you'll enjoy him a lot, and then Doctor Strange. Was it Doctor Strange?
Human Target. He's doing Human Target for DC.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Greg Smallwood. So he done Moon Knight by Lemire.
Yeah,
I think first volume. I don't know how long the Lemire run was anyway for, but I know for sure first volume was his art. So great. It looks fantastic in Moon Knight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Mister?
I'll show you this one that I found in a back issue bin. I've got the whole hardcover. but I don't ever see this in back issue bins. So
Oh,
I
yes.
grabbed it. It's the final issue of Charles Burns's
I don't.
Black Hole.
Yeah, expensive stuff, man.
Yeah, this one wasn't. It was $4, which is
Ooh.
the thing. Like, and he had it on sale as well too. So I think it came to like $3. You know,
Yeah.
and I never see these single issues. Like, I just don't see them anywhere. So even though this was the last issue, I sat and read it anyway.
Yeah.
It's because I wanted to. And one of the things that really struck me this reading was how kind of, boy, oh boy, do you ever get sucked into these pages in a different kind of way than you do with other books.
Yeah.
His style is just so relentless. Like, he doesn't really give you a moment to kind of step back a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of the wavy panels, like the hardcover, it does something similar. I don't have it within arm's reach, unfortunately, but I found it a much different experience reading it in this floppy format.
Is that the Beatles there? It looks like the Beatles, like John Lennon and or maybe the Monkees, because the hairdo and the glasses.
Yeah, they definitely have that style. Yeah, they have that.
Yeah. Kind of look like Beatles.
Yeah. But man, oh man, like, you really zero in on this. There's no peripheral vision when you're reading this book. Like, you're only seeing the page, and it really sucked me into the book. But this is it's so good, and it really makes me think, like, I should read this again, but I kind of want to. If I read it again, I kind of want to read it in single issue format. So I think I'm setting myself up for a lot of heartache, because I don't think these are easy to come by, and I don't think they're going to be cheap, especially like the first issue. You know, I haven't looked into it yet at all, but I can't imagine they're cheap. But when he does these flashbacks with the wavy panel border and stuff, I like that as a nice touch. And then he does stuff like this too, like these 2-page spreads.
Yeah.
It's black in the middle and everything on the edges. And you just sit and look at all of that detail in every single last little piece. It's not Darrow level, but it's still that kind of attention to, I'm going to fill up the page with whatever I can, but really use a lot of negative space, like the black background and stuff.
Yeah.
But detail on the guns, that line work is just, it's really gorgeous. And the
moon is great.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's
really beautiful. Zesty Clam saying, I stopped buying them. Don't have the last 2 or 3 single issues. I felt like I got the idea. Yeah, I hear that. I can't remember. I mean, I remember the very broad strokes of the story itself, but reading this ending, I'm like, I don't remember most of this. You know? So I don't think that it was a story that necessarily resonated deeply with me. It was more just the presentation, the art. Like, look at this rain, you know. Yeah, it's beautiful. So everybody's friend Fantagraphics book, so number 12. But it's beautiful stuff, and I really hope that I have some luck. Like I said, I was really shocked to see it in the bin. I didn't. The last thing I expected. He's got a couple of layouts, and one of them at the very, very back in the corner is sort of like independent and underground-ish type stuff. It's a very, very small section. It has like Chester Brown's Louis Riel back issues and stuff like that, right? So drawn in quarterly type books and some Fantagraphics, and that was just buried in the middle. So stitched it up.
Yeah.
The
book where I was saying, do you remember I was talking about Earl Grey? Just like thinking about it. The Russian Olive to Red King is the book I was very curious to see about.
Okay.
Never seen it before. It's imminent. Catherine Immonen is part of in 2015. It's just like recent, so I'm
yeah.
But the art inside is great. So I wanted to check it out. That has kind of like the style I wanted to mention, just to say that.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have more or?
I do one more. Yeah, I do one more. Like I said, I've got it in a gigantic stack, so I won't go through everything.
Keep it for next week.
Yeah, well, I'll have to. They won't last until next week. Then they get put away.
Oh yeah.
The rest of the stuff that I'm reading, limited space here.
I bet.
5, 6, and 7. I got 4 issues of Murder Falcon.
Ooh.
I didn't have a chance. I went looking. One of the other reasons I went to Galaxy is to see if I could find the first 3 issues of this one, this Daniel Warren Johnson book.
Yeah.
No luck, unfortunately. I was a bit surprised, honestly. I thought they would have had multiple copies because I feel like this would be a fan favorite kind of thing. This was great. I sort of got the gist of what's going on. They seem to have these powers based on playing like heavy metal music, playing in bands, and they get control over these kind of gigantic beasts, and there's this evil beasts that are trying to break into their world that they're kind of going around and fighting. So again, like a very basic premise, but man, quite a bit of fun, especially when you get into you get some great kind of rock poses, especially from this main character with his long hair. I've started to find out a little bit about him. I guess he had cancer and was going to die. So he went through a really rough patch with his partner and they split up. So they kind of get reunited in this kind of chunk here as well too. But one of the things that I did enjoy was the introduction of like a black metal type of guitarist with the face paint and everything, and really great.
Johnson is playing himself, isn't it? Guitar, because in the background you also see, in this room.
He plays guitar. As well. So we get to kind of look at his band. Looking like Immortal. There's this band Immortal, and that really reminds me of that. So it's a lot of fun. There's giant monsters. There's big fights. There's huge pages like this, and Daniel Warren Johnson's art is pretty incredible because it's very energetic, and the lines aren't always the smoothest. But he some really nice characterization in the faces.
Never static.
I find his faces are very expressive. There's the one down there.
Wow, a bit of static
with his girl. So it's a fun one. I'm gonna look for the rest. I don't know how many issues it went. 10 issues, something like that, maybe. But yeah, really, really fun. Really great. So I won't show you any more from the interiors, but some stuff like this. And what I was seeing for this one, in one of the issues, it had the variant pictures of the variant covers.
And
some of the variants, they were doing homages to classic heavy metal album covers, like Judas Priest, that sort of thing. Which I think that's a pretty clever idea if you're going to go down the variant hole. I can't find where it is. It wasn't in there yet. But yeah, worth keeping an eye out for, though. Super fun.
I keep on looking in library to see if they have that Wonder Woman run by him.
Yeah.
It's a black book. So I saw Harleen, I was like, okay, then maybe you have it. I haven't checked to their website because they do have my library has that website. But I wouldn't mind to, because I know you liked it a lot. That
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I know that people didn't like the story at all, but I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Dead Earth. Yeah, I think it's
yeah. I need to remember the name because sometimes libraries are a bit fickle when it comes to that. Or they like the creator's name, but you have to get it right in the right order. Like sometimes the systems are working. So, like for example, if I was looking for some book and I type in the surname first and the name after, no results. It's like, surely, come on, it's famous. I was like, surely you have something. So I changed the name to surname. There you go. It's everything there. It's like, for fuck's sake, people.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, great. I agree with you.
There you go. I told you. You have the same taste. Lots of things.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, similarities in that.
And I see that Earl Grey is a fan of Murder Falcon as well, too.
Yeah. Rock. He likes his rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how it it's nice. As I say, Warren Johnson, I would love to see that Wonder Woman because I like female created characters as well.
Oh man, and he portrays her as an absolute badass. It is
I
can't wait for you to read it. Like there's some panels there that are etched into my mind. They are so great. It's such an interesting story, and I mean, if you're gonna go and do like a Black Label, like one-off Elseworlds, whatever you want to call it, type of story, just fucking do it. Like just completely go for it. And he totally just goes for it, and everything is over the top, and it's still a good story. He does have a kind of there is a bit of humanity in his stories too, as much as it's kind of over the top and bombastic and stuff. There is still a bit of humanity he tries to inject in. I'm not as interested in that part of it, but I appreciate the effort.
I always enjoy the mythos of what the realm of Wonder Woman is. Mascara is always oh, Terrence, you in luck. you found it.
Excellent. Are you on the Twitter there, Andrew Lopez? If you are, shoot me a message. I'm sure we can work out a deal. I hope. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, just don't do the Will Eisner's posters prices, okay? Otherwise, that's going to be a bit disappointing but because where I look, like for 4 issues, like on eBay, of course, I looked. It's the easiest one and quickest. So like for that, Orphan Black, it's 40 pounds. So 10 pounds an issue. Are you mad? Are you mad? Yeah. Imagine just needs to crack. Yes. No, I am on IG though.
Oh yeah, so am I. I'm on Instagram. If you just search my name, it should come up.
It's on my name. It's on my name now. I'm going crazy. It's the cider. I blame 4% cider, which is so weak. But yeah, I blame this one. But
there's the spelling.
The crack. Just type crack, you'll get it.
Yeah.
I think you, especially those KKKs.
Whoa, only 2 Ks, not 3. Hold on. Edit.
It's a live stream, man. Sorry.
Damn it. Only 2. Or 4 if you really want to think
about it. I missed one. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, I guess we finished with that stuff. Sorry. I said cider influence, okay?
Yeah.
Very low one. So we're gonna see hopefully you next week. Us.
Yep.
You.
I might not be around next weekend, so I'll keep you posted.
Oh wait, it's Easter. I don't know if
Easter and this old man's birthday is coming up too, so we're doing stuff with family next weekend. So
the 20 is.
Yeah, 420.
Yeah, exactly. Because we share the same date of birth. I am 20 as well.
Yeah. But not April though.
No.
Okay, I think
number mine is 120.
Okay, all right.
Not
I thought so, but all of a sudden you had me worried. Like, oh shit, have I known you this long and and forgot that our birthdays are on the same day?
I got you confused for a second. Anyway, we'll see what's happening. It's Easter next week, so maybe we'll give you a break of our nonsense. So the therapy will maybe commence after Easter. All the bunnies we're gonna be hopping around our brain. Maybe we'll just need a break.
Yeah.
Comics. Oh, there you go. Sleeper Read at what? 2020. Oh, yeah, 2020. For a second, like what month? 20?
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. Yes, 2020 and 20. Yeah, it's a bit kind of. My friend was born on 22nd the 2nd of 2022.
Oh boy.
Not the born, but she had a child on 22nd the 2nd of 2022. It's like that's crazy, man. That's the number and a half. Anyway, okay, guys. Enough sharing of this. I hope your therapy was enjoyable. Like for me, I always happy to be here. And we'll see each other soon.
Laters.
Have a good one. Awkward silence now.